I am actually going to be speaking on something that is kind of controversial. I ain't gonna lie. I am going to kind of tap into like spirituality a little bit, and some people might get into their feelings or whatever. So I need to sage, make sure that everything that I say is coming from a place of, knowledge and love and enlightenment. And so I just want to make sure that I'm in a great space before I touch on this and before, this reaches you guys. So just saging the area, All right, so as you know, I'm the Sacred Genie. What's up? What's going on? I'm just going to today talk about witchcraft and how it does relate to the sexual liberation of women, Black women in particular, but I am going to touch on just witchcraft as a whole. The other night, I watched a documentary or a little series. It's a 2-part series on Netflix called Witches, A Century of Murder. And it's a pretty good documentary, and it kind of breaks down the witch trials and stuff that happened over there in Europe, how that took place, how it started, and things of that nature. So I suggest that you go over there and watch it. I'm going to kind of touch on that a little bit because it kind of all ties in together. Because of, I call them mayonnaise colored men, they weren't able to understand witchcraft. They weren't able to understand what women were doing and things like that. There were times, I know over in Europe, where they would have like gatherings, like women would just have gatherings, meet out in the field. This was just a time where they were able to just express themselves freely with one another, if they want to have romantic relationships with one another, or just with themselves and explore themselves sexually, or just liberated. I'm away from men for the day. Instead of being controlled by patriarchy, I want to go out here and be with my girls, like so they would have little meetups, and this was like in the 1500s or whatever. So with that being said, men didn't understand what they were doing. They just knew that they were running off or whatever. So there was a theory, a book that was written by a British monk. And what he did is he argued that witchcraft was evil, that there are witches that exist, and what they do is they work for the devil in order to maim people, kill them, torture, and things of that nature. And when he wrote the book, what he did was he was slick. He printed the Pope's royal proclamation at the front of the book just to give it some legitimacy. And what the Pope's proclamation basically stated was that witchcraft is evil, and this and that nature, that it is real and stuff like that. And those who are witches should be, I want to say like they should be not killed, but basically killed. So he put that at the front of his book. And what it did was, since he put that on the front of his book, obviously when people buy this, they're thinking that the Pope is backing this up, like the church is backing up this book, like, so it must be real, so that's what he did. And so then people started believing in it and wanting to hunt down these witches, basically. So I remember in the documentary, it highlighted a man by the name of David Seaton. He had a young woman who was his housemaid. Allegedly, he tried to make a pass at her, and she denied him. And of course, you can't deny no man back in those days. Even today, you still can't deny a man without him getting his butt hurt feelings. How dare you? What? So she denied him, and that was that, or whatever. So she would be amongst the women who would, go out into the night. So she left at night, would return in the morning. One evening in particular, when she left out, he assumed that she was going to go and practice witchcraft, because after reading this book, this bitch must be doing something, So she'll come back the next morning, and he ended up torturing her by putting her hands in this thing where it would press down on your fingers and you can nail into your hands. He tortured her by doing that. He put some type of rope around her head, and then he and another man were like pulling each side of the rope until her head was like bleeding or would bust open. And what they believed in, when you tortured witches, if they survived the torture, you were a witch. So it's not that just that I'm very strong or that I'm really, really trying to live, that I'm actually, you know, surviving this torture. It's the fact because I'm a witch. Okay. So they believed that you were a witch if you survived it. So they would just apply more pressure and keep trying to torture you and stuff like that. So they tortured this poor girl until she finally confessed. She really wasn't a witch. She just went ahead and just confessed because it's like, I'm tired of this torture. Just stop. I'll say whatever you want me to say at this point. So she finally just said, okay, I saw the devil. He told me to do this. He told me to kill. He told me to do this and that. Once she confessed, they wanted more names because they're like, you're not doing this alone. We know that it's a group of y'all doing this and stuff like that. So she just ended up giving up names, and you feel me, they gave up more names and things of that nature. So it was just an ongoing thing. So once they gave up names, they would go after these other women and they would toss them all into a tiny ass jail cell until their trial came. And once the trials came, you know, it's like almost talking to a dead horse. It's like it doesn't even matter because it's men that are in charge of your fate. So these men who, you feel me, some of them are disgusting men. So if you've ever, like, you know, turned them down or whatever in the past and stuff like that, some of them are taking it to heart. And they're going to, of course, you know, deem you as guilty. So if you were guilty, you were hung and killed. So simple as that. So you didn't have to have any proof that somebody was a witch or anything like that. And what they also looked for when they were hunting down witches was a mark. So it could be like a birthmark that you have on your body, or a mole, or age marks, some type of mark, because the mark represents that the devil stamped you with this mark. That's literally what they thought. Which is crazy. It's like, damn, I was literally born with a birthmark. And you got a birthmark probably. Like, nigga, like. So, needless to say, that's what happened with that. And then that lasted for a century. That literally lasted for 100 years. So, women, more and more women just being found guilty or whatever. And then they would tell on other women and things like that. And still end up dead regardless. So, yeah. But anyways, I kind of want to shift gears and talk about black witchcraft. So with black witchcraft and African spirituality, they go hand in hand. So really with black witchcraft and African spirituality, the purpose of it was to form community. They wanted to form community for black people. You know, we experienced trauma in the past, or we experience trauma now as with racism, slavery. We definitely, you know, have been through some shit. So what African spirituality, the goal of it was to basically form a community of people to heal. Now, of course, dating back to when we were first, you know, captured in slavery and things of that nature, British patriarchy, of course, since they didn't understand our practices, and they basically wanted to strip us of everything that we were like as if we were not humans, of course. So they stripped us even of our religion, our spiritual practices and things of that nature. So they forbade us from doing anything of that nature, and they pretty much forced Christianity and things of that nature on us. So with that being said, even though we were forced out of our own spiritual practices, we still kind of like, you know, we still kind of persevered through it with Christianity. If you think about it, there's something that's called the ring circle, and it's still practiced by African witches and things of that nature to this day. So the ring circle was adapted into Christianity by us, which is basically like a group of people. They go into a circle and they're singing and they're, you know, praising and things of that nature, clapping, dancing and stuff like that, and really getting into the spirit. And then it's not called the ring circle, it's called the ring shout circle. So they're dancing and they're singing, and basically if you were to catch the spirit or anything like that, you might actually shout. like fall out and things of that nature, like you see in churches and stuff like that when you catch the spirit. What African spirituality really focuses on is just connecting with the higher power, with your divine. And how you do that is basically through practices of Reiki, spiritual divinations, as well as working on your root chakra. And what these practices of Reiki and divination and root chakra work actually encouraged was for women and femmes to look inward and to the past, for strength and self-reformation. So basically you would use those magical powers, for the good, for reformation, for actually creating a positive community around you and a better life for you and your family and your village. So, I think that there are bad witches. I think that there are people that are out there that are, who make a bad name for certain things and anything that you do. So while there are bad witches who use their magical powers or whatever for evil, you still can't really cast that as being for everyone. Honestly, I feel like everybody has, magical powers, especially in the African diaspora. I feel like, in my own personal opinion, that we all have the ability to have an effect on, the outcome of certain situations. Obviously, just like with any religion or most religions, you have prayer and things like that. There's an outcome that comes from that. Whenever you're seeking out positive vibes or putting out those positive vibes, you expect good to come back. It's called karma, right? So there's karmic cycles is what I believe in. So you have the ability to kind of change what your outcome is going to be, whether it's for good or for bad, depending on the energy that you put out. All right. So that's my personal beliefs. But anyway, and because this practice focuses on women looking inward and, basically reforming themselves, it forces us to actually strip ourselves down and to just become truthful with ourselves, to explore yourself. You feel me? And that's why I'm very big on self-exploration. That's why I'm very big on, sexual liberation, because I want us to not feel ashamed of who we are. I want us to actually have to look into the mirror and be happy with who you are. See your different features, understand who you are as a person. That's why I encourage people to journal, so that way you can just see what your thoughts are on paper. You're thinking about things a mile a minute and you don't even have the time to actually sit there and process what it is that you're feeling, what it is that you are seeing, every day. We're in a pandemic right now, so we're kind of forced to just be in the house or whatever. But at the same time, are we really processing, what it is that we're going through? Process how you feel sexually. Process, what it is that you like and you enjoy. So that's why I say that these things do go hand in hand, because it even says it. You can actually do your research on African spirituality for yourself. But these are just some of the things that I've picked up along the way. So witchcraft has been around for a long time. And I want us to just, destigmatize the thought that, it's associated with darkness and evil and just voodoo outright. Now, voodoo is very real. Don't get me wrong. Don't be messing with them women with them voodoo. And even with that can actually be used for good as well. I just want us to really, really stop putting things down that we don't know, that we don't take the time out to learn about. And so if you just take the time out, read about it for yourself, you'll see what I'm talking about. So just wanted to make those connections. And also, I can't go and talk about this without encouraging you to bust the nuts today by yourself, explore yourself, love on yourself. And this is exactly why I wore this shirt. So I want to do a shameless plug to my girl Daria. And it says, I love my damn self. I'll tag her if you want to get your own, for sure. I love this shirt. I wear it all the time. I'm a dirty bitch, I guess. But for real though, love on yourself today and every day. Guess I gotta get this right.